This is land of Havilah, Ezekiel 45. Coming up, there will be large districts in the vicinity of the temple to accommodate the priests, Levites, lay people, and Nasi. Verse 1. Moreover, when you divide by lot the land for inheritance, you shall offer an offering to Yahweh, a holy portion of the land. The length shall be the length of 25,000 reeds, and the width shall be 10,000. It shall be holy in all its border all around. Of this there shall be a 500 by 500 square for the holy place, and 50 cubits for its pasture lands all around. Of this measure you shall measure a length of 25,000 and a width of 10,000. In it shall be the sanctuary which is most holy. It is a holy portion of the land. It shall be for the priests, the ministers of the sanctuary, who come near to minister to Yahweh. It shall be a place for the houses and a holy place for the sanctuary. 25,000 in length and 10,000 in width shall be for the Levites, the ministers of the house, as a possession for themselves, for 20 rooms. You shall appoint the possession of the city 5,000 wide and 25,000 long, side by side with the offering of the holy portion. It shall be for the whole house of Israel. Comment in verse 2, the perimeter of pasture lands, also translated outskirts, is in cubits. Otherwise, none of the numbers in verses 1 to 6 have any units attached to them. Various translations have assumed reeds or cubits and inserted those words into the text, but the original Hebrew doesn't say. Reeds is probably a bad choice because if we assume reeds, the boundaries of the lands won't fit within the Holy Land. Since the outskirts in verse 2 are definitely in cubits and reeds are impossible, your narrator will assume cubits for all the numbers. Assuming that, the priest will possess a strip of land 8 1/3 miles by 3 1/3 miles. This will be plenty for them, especially if they're only there when they're on duty. In verse 2, the sanctuary or temple with its courtyards will be within the priest's area. The outer courtyard and all the temple grounds will fit nicely within the 880 square foot area that verse 2 gives for it. The Levites will have an area the same size as the priest's area and adjacent to the priest's area for their accommodations, 8 1/3 miles by 3 1/3 miles. In verse 6, on the other side of the priest's area, there will be an 8 1/3 by 1 2/3 mile tract for all Israel. This will probably be for visiting, especially during feasts. So far, the allotments add up to 8.33 square miles. Coming up, the Nasi will have his own portion on each side of that. Verse 7. What is for the prince shall be on the one side and on the other side of the holy offering and of the possession of the city, in front of the holy offering and in front of the possession of the city, on the west side westward and on the east side eastward, and in length answerable to one of the portions from the west border to the east border. In the land it shall be to him for a possession in Israel. My princes shall no more oppress my people, but they shall give the land to the house of Israel according to their tribes. Thus says the Lord Yahweh, let it suffice you, princes of Israel, remove violence and plunder, and execute justice and righteousness, dispossessing my people, says the Lord Yahweh. Comment in verses 7 and 8, the Nasi will have land on each side of the aforementioned tracts. It's hard to say how much or exactly how to map it out, but the point is that he shall be satisfied with his allotment and not oppress Israel by expropriating more land from them, which was common practice in previous times. When Israel demanded a king, Yahweh warned them the king would, quote, take your fields, your vineyards, and your olive groves, even their best, and give them to his servants, 1 Samuel 8:14. But that won't happen anymore in verse 8. Israel will possess their allotments by tribe, and the Nasi will have his, and he shall not take from them. In verse 8, the Nasi should occupy himself by executing justice and ridding the land of violence and plunder rather than plundering for himself. As to overall justice, verse 10, you shall have just balances, a just ephah and a just bath. An ephah and the bath shall be of one measure, that the bath may contain 1/10 of a homer, and the ephah 1/10 of a homer. Its measure shall be the same as the homer. The shekel shall be 20 gerahs. 20 shekels plus 25 shekels plus 15 shekels shall be your mina. Comment in verses 10 to 12, there shall be standardized units of measure. Let a bushel be a bushel, a pound be a pound, and so on. Let there be no dishonest measuring. Coming up, the people will owe the Nasi the following, verse 13. This is the offering that you shall offer, the 6th part of an ephah from a homer of wheat, and you shall give the 6th part of an ephah from a homer of barley, and the set portion of oil, of the bath of oil, 1/10 of a bath out of a core, which is 10 baths, even a homer, for 10 baths are a homer, and 1 lamb of the flock out of 200 from the well-watered pastures of Israel, for a meal offering, and for a burnt offering, and for peace offerings, to make atonement for them, says the Lord Yahweh. All the people of the land shall give to this offering for the prince in Israel. It shall be the prince's part to give the burnt offerings, the meal offerings, and the drink offerings in the feast, and on the new moons, and on the Sabbaths, in all the appointed feasts of the house of Israel. He shall prepare the sin offering, the meal offering, the burnt offering, and the peace offerings to make atonement for the house of Israel. Comment: Numbers 28 and 29 specify the offerings that should be presented to the Lord daily, weekly, monthly, and on the yearly feast days. In verse 17, the Nasi will provide the materials for the offerings, the animals, grains, and oil. But in verses 13 to 16, most of the materials originate with Israel. They give to the Nasi, and the Nasi provides them to the sanctuary on their behalf. It's the Nasi's responsibility to provide them so the priests and Levites don't have to scramble for them when the time comes. For this purpose, Israelites will owe the Nasi 1 part in 60 of their wheat and barley, 1% of their oil, and if they have a flock of 200 lambs or more, 1 lamb per 200. This is assuming the Israelite has well-watered land. Now the regular offerings the Nasi will provide, verse 18. Thus says the Lord Yahweh, in the 1st month, in the 1st day of the month, you shall take a young bull without defect, and you shall cleanse the sanctuary. The priest shall take of the blood of the sin offering, and put it on the doorposts of the house, and on the 4 corners of the ledge of the altar, and on the post of the gate of the inner court. So you shall do on the 7th day of the month for anyone who errs, and for him who is simple. So you shall make atonement for the house. Comment: in verses 18 to 20, in the 1st month of the Hebrew calendar, a bull for sin offering is due on the 1st day and 7th day. This will atone for the sanctuary with regard to those who have erred in simplicity, which means inadvertently or through ignorance. Verse 21. In the 1st month, in the 14th day of the month, you shall have the Passover, a feast of 7 days. Unleavened bread shall be eaten. On that day the prince shall prepare for himself and for all the people of the land a bull for a sin offering. The 7 days of the feast he shall prepare a burnt offering to Yahweh, 7 bulls and 7 rams without defect daily for the 7 days, and a male goat daily for a sin offering. He shall prepare a meal offering, an ephah for a bull, and an ephah for a ram, and a hin of oil to an ephah. Comment: in verse 21, the 14th day of the 1st month is Passover, and unleavened bread runs from there through the 20th. On Passover, the Nasi will bring a bull for sin offering on behalf of himself and all Israel. In addition, on each of the 7 days, he'll bring 7 bulls and 7 rams for burnt offering, and 1 male goat for sin offering, and he'll provide offerings of grain and oil along with each bull and ram. Now regarding the feast called Sukkot, which in English is variously translated as the Feast of Booths, Tabernacles, Ingathering, and Harvest, verse 25. In the 7th month, in the 15th day of the month, in the feast, he shall do like that for 7 days, according to the sin offering, according to the burnt offering, and according to the meal offering, and according to the oil. Comment: in verse 25, the Nasi will provide the same sacrifices during the 7-day Feast of Booths that he provided during the 7 days of Passover and unleavened bread. Ezekiel 46 is next.